The house stood alone. It was at the end of Elm Street, dark and imposing. No one dared to go near. The old Victorian mansion was once grand. Now it was decaying. The paint was peeling. The windows were boarded up. It was a place of secrets. The house had a name, Blackwood Manor. Locals whispered tales. They spoke of it being cursed, a place of tragedy and sorrow. For years it stood empty, a testament to its dark past, a constant reminder of the horrors that transpired within its walls. It was a place to be feared. The history of Blackwood Manor was shrouded in darkness. Its walls, now crumbling and covered in ivy, once held secrets that no one dared to uncover. The Blackwood family, once prominent and respected, had met a grim end. They were known for their wealth and influence, but their legacy was tainted by tragedy. Their story was a tragic one, a tale of love, betrayal, and madness that would haunt the town for generations. It was said that the patriarch, Mr. Blackwood, had gone mad. His descent into insanity was slow and terrifying, marked by strange behavior and violent outbursts. He had locked his family inside the house. The once lively manor became a prison, its inhabitants trapped by the very man who was supposed to protect them. Then, he set it ablaze. The flames roared through the night, consuming everything in their path, consuming them all in the flames. The fire was so intense that it could be seen from miles away, a beacon of horror and despair. Legend had it that their souls were trapped within the house. Unable to find peace, they wandered the halls, their whispers carried by the wind, condemned to relive their final moments for eternity. Each night, the tragic events replayed, a never-ending cycle of sorrow and pain. Over the years, there were whispers, stories of ghostly apparitions and unexplained phenomena that kept the curious at bay. People claimed to see lights flickering in the windows, strange ethereal glows that seemed to dance in the darkness. Others heard screams echoing from within, blood-curdling cries that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to listen. But no one dared to investigate. The fear of what lay within the walls of Blackwood Manor was too great, and the whispers of the past continued to haunt the present. One hot summer night, a group of friends gathered near Blackwood Manor. The manor was infamous in their small town, known for its eerie presence and the countless ghost stories that surrounded it. They were young and fearless, their laughter echoing through the night air. Unafraid of the stories they had heard, they dismissed the tales as mere fabrications of overactive imaginations. There was Jake, the leader of the group. He was always the first to suggest an adventure, the one who never backed down from a dare. He was always up for a challenge. Nothing scared him, or so he thought. Then there was Emily. She was skeptical, always questioning the validity of the ghost stories. She didn't believe the stories, often rolling her eyes at the mention of ghosts and ghouls. But a part of her was curious, a small part that wondered if there was any truth to the legends. And then there was Ben. He was the quiet one, often standing slightly apart from the group, observing rather than participating. He was the quiet one, his silence often mistaken for indifference, but in reality, he was afraid of the house. He was afraid of the house, the stories of its haunted past, sending chills down his spine. But he didn't want to let his friends down. He wanted to prove that he was just as brave as the rest of them. They stood there, challenging each other, their voices a mix of excitement and fear, daring each other to go inside, their eyes fixed on the dark, foreboding structure before them. The house seemed to beckon them, its dark windows like eyes watching their every move. Drawing them closer, it whispered promises of adventure and danger, a siren call they couldn't resist. Section 4. The Dare. Jake, feeling brave, issued a dare. I bet none of you will go inside. His voice echoed in the stillness of the night. The challenge was thrown. Emily, not one to back down, accepted. She wouldn't let Jake think she was scared. Fine, she said, but you're coming with me. Ben hesitated. He wanted to refuse, but the words wouldn't come out. He knew he couldn't let his friends down. He nodded reluctantly. Together, the three friends approached the house. Each step filled them with a sense of dread. They could feel the darkness closing in around them. Section 5. Unexplained Events. The front door creaked open as if inviting them inside. The air grew heavy and thick. A cold shiver ran down their spines. They stepped inside cautiously. The house was silent. The air was thick with dust particles. Cobwebs hung from every corner, untouched for years. It was as if time had stood still in this place. As they ventured deeper, they heard a noise, a soft whisper. They stopped, listening intently, but the sound was gone. They continued their exploration, feeling uneasy. Each room they entered was colder than the last one. The darkness seemed to press in on them, suffocating them. Section 6. The Haunting Truth. Suddenly, a door slammed shut. The friends jumped, their hearts pounding in their chests. They spun around, searching for the source of the sound. They saw a figure standing at the end of the hallway. It was tall and shadowy. Its eyes glowed red in the darkness. The friends froze in terror. They couldn't move. They couldn't breathe. The figure began to move towards them, slowly, deliberately. They turned and ran. They ran as fast as they could. They didn't stop until they were outside, safe, or so they thought. Section 7. The Twist. The night was thick with an unsettling silence, broken only by the occasional creak of the old mansion's wooden floors. As they caught their breath, they realized something. Ben was missing. Panic set in as they frantically called out his name, their voices echoing through the empty halls. He hadn't made it out of the house. He was gone. The realization hit them like a ton of bricks, and a cold dread seeped into their bones. Days turned into weeks, but Ben was never found. The search parties grew smaller and hope began to fade. The once vibrant chatter about his possible whereabouts turned into hushed whispers of despair. The police searched the house. Every nook and cranny was examined, every shadow chased away by the beam of a flashlight, but they found no trace of him. It was as if the mansion had swallowed him whole, leaving no evidence behind. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. The mystery deepened, and the mansion's eerie reputation grew. Jake and Emily were devastated. They couldn't shake the guilt that gnawed at their hearts, the feeling that they had failed their friend. They blamed themselves for what happened to Ben. Arguments erupted. Friendships strained under the weight of their shared sorrow. They had been so caught up in their own fear that they had left him behind. The memory of that night haunted them, a constant reminder of their perceived cowardice. But what they didn't know was that Ben was not a victim. He was the culprit. The truth was far more twisted than they could have imagined. He had planned the whole thing. The noises, the shadowy figure, every detail was meticulously crafted to instill fear. It was all a hoax. Ben had orchestrated the entire scenario, setting up props and creating an atmosphere of terror. Ben had wanted to scare his friends. He thought it would be a thrilling adventure, a story they would laugh about later. He wanted to teach them a lesson, to show them how easily fear could take hold and control their actions. But his plan had backfired. Instead of a harmless prank, it turned into a nightmare. He had gotten himself trapped. The very house he used as a stage for his deception became his prison, and now he was the one who was truly gone. The mansion stood silent once more, a monument to Ben's folly and the dark twist of fate that ensnared him.